did the Trinity nuclear test leave the populations of New Mexico, specifically natives and Mexicans, with higher levels of cancer and disease? Now, this is a video that I've been sitting on for a very long time because I really just want to do it justice. Hi, my name is DJ. I am a radiation health physicist, and that's somebody who protects people from nuclear radiation while also being able to use the benefits of nuclear and radiation. Now, I myself am not a defender of nuclear weapons or testing nuclear weapons, but I do find it very important for people to understand the actual risks when it comes to radiation. The use of the word radiation or nuclear typically causes a lot of anxiety, and my hope is to be able to relieve people of that anxiety while at the same time informing them when they should be concerned. Now, if you were to ask me just a few years ago what were the health consequences of the Trinity nuclear test, I probably wouldn't have been able to give you a clear answer. Recently, however, and thankfully, they actually did come out with a very comprehensive study about the health consequences of the Trinity nuclear test. There were 6 papers released on this study, but you can read this technical summary here that goes over all of those different aspects of the Trinity nuclear test. Now, if you read through this, you'll realize that this was extremely comprehensive, and it took over 7 years to accomplish, reconstructing the doses and determining these health effects. Now, in this series of studies, they ask the very important questions that we all want to know about the Trinity test, such as how do you model all of these doses, and what were the actual doses of radiation to the populations? What were the cancer effects from these populations? Was there any evidence that there were multi-generational cancer effects? So the progeny, the sons and daughters of the people living there, did they have any effects? And what happened to all of that plutonium that was not fissioned but did get distributed across New Mexico? And this study, like I said, was extremely comprehensive. They left no stone unturned. Now, in order to understand what sort of doses people got, you need to know how long they were outside, what kind of food were they consuming? Were they consuming things that they killed themselves and ate? Did they drink a lot of milk? Where did they get their water? And they were able to answer these questions by interviewing people who were alive during that Trinity nuclear test, by having focus groups at senior homes, with certain tribes, the elderly in certain tribes, and they were able to come up with this whole comprehensive list of what people were doing during that time, how long they were staying outdoors, to where if there was radioactive material that was passing through, you could determine what sort of dose they got from that radioactive material. They also delved into the actual data from the ground when it comes to the amount of radionuclides that were there, went into the weather patterns during that time, and they were able to create an entire dose reconstruction for all of New Mexico. So that big question people are asking, how much cancer came from the Trinity nuclear test? Well, the results of this study is anywhere from above 0 to about 1,000 cancers due to the Trinity nuclear test. Now, it's very important. This number needs to be put into context. How much cancer over the baseline cancer? Now, the baseline cancer rate for this population in New Mexico, they had to estimate this, was about 180,000 cancers, just as a baseline. That means that the overall increase in the cancer rate that is projected, these are all projections, these aren't actual cancers, is less than about 0.1% increase in the populations of New Mexico. Most of this being in those counties closest to the Trinity nuclear test site. And most of this cancer is attributed to thyroid cancer, which thankfully, even though getting any cancer is terrible, it's the most treatable of the cancers. Okay, so what about those hereditary effects to the unborn children of New Mexico residents? Well, to figure out what those effects are, we need to look at other populations and compare to other populations who have been exposed to radiation. Now, compared to the population such as the Japanese bomb survivors, the doses received by the residents of New Mexico were significantly lower. And when it comes to any population that has been exposed to large amounts of radioactive material and radiation, there have actually never been multi-generational cancer risks seen at all. This includes the Japanese bomb survivors, Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island. No matter where you go, these doses did not result in multi-generational cancer risks. All right, so what about all of that unfissioned plutonium that's all over New Mexico now? Thankfully, plutonium tends to be very heavy and falls out of fallout clouds very quickly. So it fell very, very close to where the detonation site was. And even at its highest levels, it was 25 times less than the recommended action level of the EPA. And today they say it's about 30% of that. And plutonium, it does have a very big stigma around it. But when it comes to relative risk, the fission products from detonations are actually much more harmful than plutonium. Plutonium's typically lower concern than the other fission products. So understanding all of this that came out of this comprehensive study, we can understand that the prognosis when it comes to the health effects from the Trinity nuclear test is overall pretty good. And I know, just saying that can cause a lot of feelings of anger towards me. And I think it's really important to understand to those who have an objection to the Trinity nuclear test or nuclear weapons overall, you can have those objections, but also understand the reality of the health effects and the science that came out of those studies. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. You can have those beliefs and understandings at the same time.